Today's episode of Crime Crazy is brought to you by Audible. Now, fans of Crime Crazy Podcast can get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/crimecrazy. They have over 180,000 titles to choose from, and you can listen on your iPhone, your Android, your Kindle, or your MP3 player. www.audibletrial.com/crimecrazy. Okay.
Yes.
How about some true crime?
Okay.
Are we ready for that?
Yeah.
I think I can say my name this week.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
My name's Erin.
Oh, man.
That now I don't have to get it right ever again.
Kiss your brain.
Kiss my brain. It's time to kill. Oh, wait. No, it's something different.
That was funny. Oh, shit. Okay. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Welcome to Crime Crazy, the weekly true crime podcast with Erin Plime
And Jordan Middleton,
where we prove
that we know nothing about our legal system,
but we're still crazy for a good true crime story.
Meow, meow, meow.
Okay, until then it was flawless first try. Then a cat got involved.
Everything's better with a cat.
Mm-hmm. I'm a little worried about Jordan tonight, guys.
I'm exhausted. I'm literally like drunk tired. Do you know when you're like to the point where you're like
you're getting silly and giggly?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
I'm getting very yawny, which sorry guys. I yawn so much. Erin does her best to edit it out, but sometimes you just gotta let it go.
And then I have to edit out the conversation about the yawn so they don't even know it's taken place. And then while I'm editing, I sit there and yawn the whole time.
How was your week, Erin?
It was great.
Well, really, it's not even over yet, but how's it been going so far?
Yesterday was frustrating. It was like combination exciting and frustrating. Like I got to try some new things, but I didn't get any of the work done that I had planned to do because apparently everyone in my building was having a crisis. And I needed
you told me that.
Attend to their needs first, which is fine. I mean, ultimately the stuff I was going to do also attends to their needs, but I am there to support them. So if they need me to use a soldering iron and pliers and conductive paint and clips and screwdrivers in order to try to repair a broken jump drive for 6 hours, then that's what I got to do.
Oh my God, that's nuts.
I didn't succeed.
You should have called me. I would have helped you fix it.
It still exists. I made it a little coffin. It's on the teacher's desk.
Aww.
Because we got it to the point where when you plug it in, it makes the sound and it says, this drive is unreadable, which before it didn't even know there was a drive in there. So I feel like I made a lot of progress. Unfortunately for their lesson plans, I never got any further than that.
Oh man, I wouldn't put all my eggs in one little jump drive basket. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
Sometimes,
and she knows that too. It just didn't happen.
It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
Where you just didn't think anything of it.
Yeah. Or just like you always intended to and it never happened.
Oh, yeah. That's funny. My week has not... I don't know. I haven't really done a whole lot. Julius was sick. But that's about it.
Your puppies are always sick.
And it's always something weird. And I always go in and my poor vet, she's like... Well, she's always like, poor you. And I'm always like, poor you, because I'm always in here. But
yeah, but she's getting paid.
I know, but she's always feels bad because it's like we always end up the topic of like their staff meetings.
Right.
Like, let's solve this problem. It's like everyone knows my dogs. Like, we're that family.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I have the problem child. But
and it's not like you don't take good care
and
of you.
That's what my vet said. She was like, you guys are the... Oh my God, the littlest leg just kicked out. Oh my God.
There's somebody creepy in my living room.
Your leg scared me.
What is that?
Ew.
What do you mean you don't know what that is? Let me see. What is it?
Ew, 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 ew,
Don't touch me with it. Just let me see. It's a piece of pasta. Where'd that come from? Good night. Love you.
Good night. Oh, thanks. Good night.
I love you guys too.
Oh, thank you.
I love you. Good night.
You thought that was dog poo I had.
I thought it was a caterpillar.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
It's huge.
It's huge.
I don't remember what I was saying because all of a sudden this little leg just kicked out and I was like, what was that?
That's what he does. He comes halfway down the stairs and he just kicks a foot out to let you know he's there. You were saying that you're not even a bad dog mom.
Oh, right. Because she's like, you guys are like probably the best dog owners ever. She's like, you guys take care of them so well. You guys don't deserve this. And I said, thank you for saying that. I was like almost in tears. I was like, it means so much.
Right. Well, I mean, you essentially quit your job to stay home with them.
I love them.
I got at least 4 Snapchats with them today. So
oh yeah,
I think you take care of them better than I take care of my kids.
Frankie was watching Twilight.
Yes,
he loves it.
Hilarious. Oh my gosh, I want to come watch Twilight with you and Frankie and record the whole thing.
He lays on the couch or he'll lay on Julius and just watch it. And then when the dogs the wolves start fighting, he jumps up and starts growling. Yes. And then he lays back down. It was great. He loves it. He was
really into it.
He loves it. That and Harry Potter, like anything with like the Dementors, he really likes.
Tobin started watching the second Harry Potter today.
Aww.
I said, are you ready for this? There's Dobby in this one. He's like, what is that green thing? He was looking at the DVD. I'm like, that's Dobby.
That's cute.
So,
you go first this week. I'll have to like start reading and.
No, it's my turn.
Dang. I'm losing it.
So are you gonna like ask me any questions?
Well, I was, but then you were like, "Are you gonna?" So I guess I
now
have to. No.
Oh, okay. So now I don't want to ask.
Are there any? Well, I know for a fact there's a crime you didn't do this week because you said, "Man, this is better than the one I have this week."
Well, that's what I was going to answer to your question. Yes. So it wasn't so much that I researched it and then was like, "Oh no, I won't do that one." It was that while I was reading and like typing mine up, there was a paragraph that was like, this isn't the only blah, blah, blah. There's also the story of such and such. And I was like, oh, that sounds so much better than this one. So that's next week. So
I have one that's next week, but just because I needed, like it's not long enough to make it like a.
Oh, so
like
it'll be like the little second one next week.
Yeah. Lindsay tagged me on it today.
Ooh.
And she was like, for your podcast? And I was watching it. Well, I was watching the news story and I read the article and I was cracking up. So it'll be a funny one next week.
All right. Well, I have a story that I feel like goes right along with a lot of things that we have been doing.
Uh-oh.
So,
that's not a good thing to say with the true crime podcast.
That we've been doing on our podcast.
Oh.
Like stories we've been telling. Not things we've been...
Oh.
This murder is very similar to the one you committed
that's
yesterday.
What I was thinking. I was like,
committed
dang,
last
Aaron.
week.
I called Dobie a canary yesterday because he kept tattling on me. Yeah. It was like, and then when you weren't looking, she gave me more ice cream. I was like, dude, shut up.
Right? Stop talking. Okay, so this one is author and murderer.
Ooh.
Okay. And there's no inspiration whatsoever behind this except that I was like, I need a crime. Where can we find a crime?
Mm-hmm.
So here we go. So it's about this woman whose name is much easier to pronounce when she gets married.
Okay.
Because it starts out Nancy Mancuso. I think that's how you say that.
Okay.
But then she marries Joseph Gelber. Actually, Joseph Gelber Jr.
Oh.
So then she becomes Nancy Gelber.
Junior.
Well, no, the junior doesn't transfer.
Wouldn't it be funny if it did?
Yes. So, but Joseph Gelber doesn't go by Joseph or Gelber or Junior. He goes by Jody, which was very confusing to me when I was typing up the notes. And I'm like, wait, I thought her name was Nancy. Who is this Jody person? Yeah, that's the husband.
Oh, that's strange.
I had never heard of Jody as a nickname for Joseph.
Yeah. I thought it was just strange. Joe.
Right, Joe or
Joey.
Joey.
Or Swift.
No, I don't think so.
No, that sounds better than Jody.
So, anyway, they get married. They're a little bit further along in life because this is Jody's fourth marriage
Dang.
and Nancy's second, but he is certain that he has found true love this time. Like, Nancy is the one. Okay. So he's an auto mechanic, and she was working, but then after they get married, like, she quits her job and just sort of lives off his paycheck. And then in 2010, she publishes a book called Temporary Amnesia, which I am very happy to report is not on Audible.
Oh, good.
It's not. And which is good because she's a bad guy.
Yeah.
So her book, we'll get to what it was about a little bit later, but it's a true crime book.
Oh.
So she gets a little bit of like success from this, not so much that like she's published on Audible, but enough that it all went to her head and she thought she was a celebrity. And so she starts to party like a celebrity.
Ugh.
And she's going out and staying out late. She's spending tons of money, like just as much money as she can possibly, probably more than she can afford.
I would say probably more than what they have.
Right. And I don't know how much her book made. Like, I didn't see that anywhere, but not what she was probably spending. She gets into drugs because, you know, she's out partying. So it sounded to me like it was very recreational, not like she became an addict and then went crazy, but like she would go out partying every night and then she would do party drugs. Right. So after 9 years of being married, things start to go south.
Aww.
She at the time is 54 and he's 55. And she starts to get very suspicious of him and his activities. And he starts to get just fed up with her. So she thinks that he's having affairs, and she claims that he has kicked her off his health insurance because she needs to have surgery and he doesn't want to have to pay for it. So he took her off his health insurance, and of course she's not working. She believes she's working. She believes that she is an author.
It is not easy to take someone off of your health insurance.
Well, and I don't even know that he took her off, period. But my guess would be, if anything, like they lost their health insurance or something.
I would say, because I know for a fact it is hard.
It's hard.
So you have to have like a whole life movement, and then they have to like deem it okay.
Okay. So then she also said that because of all of his affairs, that she was suffering from anxiety and depression. And she had gone on Facebook, and April 29th, 2011. So this is like a year after her wild celebrity status became a thing. She wrote on her wall, "I wish the pain would go away, so could I from this hell I'm living in," talking about her marriage.
How poetic.
Yeah. So by this point, they were sleeping in separate bedrooms, and they were not getting along, and they never really saw each other, which just led to Nancy feeling more and more like he was out having affairs. She told one person, it was like, "Oh, there are 5 or 6 girls and none of them know about each other, and he's just always with one of them." And meanwhile, he's going, "Yeah, I'm at work all the time trying to pay for your partying. There's no time for an affair."
Yeah.
So their marriage was falling apart, and finally Jody told Nancy he was done. He wanted a divorce, like, we're hardly even married anyway. And Nancy did not take that well. Because in addition to losing all of her party money and probably like her thing to complain about, she also would no longer be the beneficiary of his life insurance policy.
Oh my God.
So I read a couple different things that sort of contradicted themselves about the life insurance policy. Some places said there was one that was $180,000, which is pretty significant.
Yeah.
And another one said that there were 3 that totaled almost $500,000. So I'm not sure which one is correct. But either way, somewhere between $200,000 and $500,000 of life insurance money. So her solution, of course, like any wife, is to not seek marriage counseling, not try to right her wrongs, not try to be a better wife or a decent human being, but to hire a hitman.
Oh, so she's not going to do the dirty work.
No,
she wants someone else to do it.
Well, you see, she knows not to do the dirty work because she's a crime expert, because she has written a true crime book.
I forgot it was true crime.
Kind of like, or well, not true crime, I guess it's crime drama.
Okay.
But kind of like we are crime experts because we have a crime podcast.
Yep. Accurate.
So I think I did say it was true crime, but that's totally a lie. She made it up.
Oh, okay.
All right. So she goes to her drug dealer because that's where you start when you're looking for a hitman.
Okay.
I mean, really, if I had a drug dealer and was in the market for a hitman, that's probably where I'd start.
I'd probably start on Craigslist.
Just go straight to Craigslist and type in hitman.
Like the black web.
Well, yeah.
The dark side of the moon.
The dark side of the I think you've got to go a little deeper than Craigslist. I don't think that counts as dark web.
I don't know. I feel like it's like that's the creepy stuff that's right there in plain sight, but everyone's too scared of Craigslist to say anything about it.
Right. Well, I think there have been murders from Craigslist.
Yeah, that's a Craigslist murderer.
Yeah. But that definitely is not dark web.
Well.
Silk Road is more along, but I don't know how to get there, so it's cool. Anyway, so she goes to her drug dealer because that's who she knows. His name is Jeremy Kidd, and he also lives in Texas. They're all from Texas. And she tells Kidd, I really need a hitman. Like, I need to kill my husband. I need out of this. It's not going well, whatever. You know, who can you hook me up with? And Kidd is like, I'm going to need some time to think about this. And then when she leaves, he goes straight to the cops. So, because they had worked together before and he was familiar with them. So the cops set this plan in motion. So Kidd comes back to Nancy and he says, okay, I found someone for you. His name is Dwight, and that's all the name you're going to get. And he would like to meet you at this address, and it's like the parking lot of a hotel, and, bring some form of payment and like some pictures and whatever you're going to need, and tell him what you want done. So she agrees, and she goes and she meets Dwight. Well, Dwight is actually a detective whose last name is Young. And he's just posing as this hitman. Yeah. So she gets in his car, and of course the whole car is bugged and video recorded and everything. And she asks him straight up, she's like, are you in any way, shape, or form affiliated with the law? And he is an undercover detective, so he says, no, are you?
That's exactly what a narc would say. Like, what?
Like, what is he supposed to say? Oh,
shit, you caught me.
Yeah, damn. Okay,
I was hoping you wouldn't ask.
Right.
Oh, God,
She says, I am not. I am a crime novelist, and that's why this is the worst thing I have ever done in my life. She's like super dramatic, by the way.
I would have been like, get out. I don't want to help you.
You know what? No, I give up. No,
You need more help than me.
So somehow during this initial meeting with the man that she's trying to hire to murder her husband of 9 years, Gelber feels the need to tell the officer about her book. So
it's like, do you read? Jesus.
She tells him about writing Temporary Amnesia, which is apparently it's a 362-page book.
Oh.
In the crime thriller genre. It is a fictional story about a man who breaks out of prison and then collects a team of prostitutes and uses them to pull off bank robberies. Because prostitutes, excellent bank robbers. Like sex work and bank robbery, hand in hand. I have no idea. Maybe that's what they plead when they get caught. Temporary amnesia. I don't know.
Maybe that's what she has when she's writing the book.
I forgot what the title was about. So anyway, they get off of that topic.
Him as a detective is probably like, that would never work. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's probably like, no, first off.
Prostitutes and what did they do?
Yeah.
No, they're not robbing Johns. No, not Johns.
No.
Banks. Banks? How?
No.
What? So I am slightly curious. I wouldn't want to give her any money, but I wouldn't mind reading some excerpts out of this book because I have a feeling it is horrific. And I just need to know.
Sometimes Google has like previews of books. I wonder if they have one.
I don't know. It's one of the books that I'd be like, well, I'd probably listen to it on Audible. Just because I think it would be like listening to my dad wrote a porno. Just be humor the whole way through.
Oh my God. It's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon. Well, she's like made it big in the world.
Oh my God, that's funny. Sorry.
What kind of laugh was that?
Look at I'm going to have to post this. Look at the front cover.
Oh my God. What is that? It's like
She
trying to be
has-
James Bond.
Yeah, but she has like some weird IV going and it's like in her skin and I don't know.
She's an IV.
Yeah, but it's like going from
But
her
she's like walking
wrist
in a.
into her chest, that green wire.
Oh, like
I
a stent
cannot.
or something.
And the Y
Or a
in
pick.
temporary is is a martini glass.
Nice.
And the S in amnesia is a $.
And she is wearing like what is that called? Like not a onesie. What's that called?
It might be a dress.
Oh, okay. It
might
looked
be a
like
dress.
it
It might-
had pants.
Like a little pantsuit thing.
Yeah. But like if my kid was wearing it, I would call it a onesie.
That's funny. I don't even know. The first line, gunshots echoed as sirens screamed through the prison walls.
Nice. That's the escape. Well, all right, so that already has more imagery than all but the very last chapter of
Yeah.
book 3 of Belinda Blaine.
Well, there's quite a few pages, so you'll get to read a little bit before
Oh, nice. Like
on the Google Books thing.
Oh, I'm totally going to have to read that.
Yep.
But I'm not paying for it.
No.
Okay.
Back to the story. Sorry, that was funny.
Okay. I lost my place. Okay, so they get back on the topic of killing her husband.
Yeah.
She basically, I guess she brought up the whole point about her book to illustrate that, like, she knows the whole process of, like, what the police would do and all of this other stuff. And so
my God.
she says something to the effect of, if it was up to me, I would tie him up, cut his nipples off, and cut his dick off and everything else.
Ew.
However, I don't
Nipples
want
grow
it-
back.
Well, there's that. Only like once or twice. She says, I don't want it to look like a killing. I want it to look like an accident. And so he asks, he's like, so what do you want me to do? Like, what's the plan? Like, when should I come and do it? And like, what sort
Accidentally
of
cut his dick
accident?
off?
Well, I think that was like, if I was going to do it, this is what I'd
I
do. So
know.
I'm hiring you so that you'll make it look like an accident. And she's like, no. The less I know, the better I am, because they always go to the spouse first. Like, she knows because she's written this book about
Oh
bank
my
robberies.
God.
So, she gives him her wedding ring as a down payment, and then promises him that when she gets the life insurance, whether it's $180,000 or $480,000, that she will give him another $60,000, and that's his fee for
That's it?
killing. I have no idea what the going rate is.
I
for
don't know, but
murder.
if I were to do that, I feel like I would want a lot more money than a wedding ring and maybe $60,000.
Right. Well, and I feel like the wedding ring is going to be super incriminating evidence no matter what.
Yeah.
Like, you can't pawn it. What are you going to do with it? I don't know.
That's dumb.
And I don't know, because I feel like some of our stories, they've like offered $10,000 or whatever. So, and this was just some dude she met through her dealer.
Yeah.
So I'm going to guess that's an okay amount.
I
It's like a
guess.
third of if she was getting 180,000. Like
I guess.
I don't know.
I would be
I
a little-
wouldn't do it for 60,000.
I would not.
So nothing happens. Oh, she also gives him, let me go back. She also gives him 2 photos. They're actually like maybe expired identification cards with her husband's pictures on them that like she just had for some reason. So that he knows who he's going to kill.
Yeah.
So nothing happens for a while. And the police are like, well, we want to arrest her, but even with this conversation, like, we don't really have enough evidence yet. Like, we really want it to be a solid case. So they don't really do anything. And some time passes, and then...
I hope if someone's trying to kill me and they admit it and hire someone, that the police take them in. Like, because what if she gets impatient and hires another hitman and then the guy's dead and they're like, oh, shit. Like, can you imagine? I would
Way
be...
to drop the ball on that.
I would be so pissed if I'd be like, someone hired you and you still didn't do anything. Oh my God.
Funny you should say that.
Oh my God, stop.
Because
No.
the drug dealer's thinking the same thing. So he comes to them and he's like, Nancy's acting really weird. And I think that, she might try to hire somebody else, or she might just decide to kill him herself. Like, you have to do something. You can't just leave this poor, unsuspecting dude alone in the house with this woman. So they're like, okay, we'll tell him what's up. They go to the husband when Nancy's not around, and they show him her Facebook page. And on her Facebook, and they tell him, like, she wants you dead. She's hired a hitman. Here's her Facebook page. She's already describing herself as a widow on Facebook. He isn't even dead yet, and she's
oh my God,
already, like, I don't know if she's changed her relationship status or what the deal is, but she's already.
Can you imagine that popping up on everyone's feed, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, what happened?" And then
nothing yet,
nothing
yet. It's growth.
It's just metaphoric.
Right? So, they play the recorded evidence of her hiring the hitman, and he's not very hard to convince because he's like, well, she's been kind of weird, and she's into drugs, and she's been accusing me of all this stuff, and I can see that happening. And they're like, all right, so if you don't want to leave the house right now, like if you want us to keep looking for evidence on her and eventually arrest her, you need to be really careful, and it has to be your decision. And he's like, no, I'm just going to stay. Like, I'll just, watch my back, and I'll stick around because I want you to really nail her. So he lives with her in their house for a month after learning that she was going to try and kill him. The police tell him, don't eat or drink anything at the house. He says, after that, I didn't.
Oh my God.
I also had a pistol, and I slept with it under my pillow.
Oh my God.
So
I would not physically, mentally, or emotionally be able to live in a house knowing that the other person wants to kill me.
Right? Even if you're not sharing a bed. Like,
no!
You've got to see each other sometime.
Oh my God.
And that she's already hired. She hired someone.
Yeah.
I don't know. So the police are like, okay, well, we'll arrange another sting, and we will try to get some more evidence on her. So they wire up 2 investigators, and they give them a hidden camera and a microphone and a fake story. Mm-hmm. And they send them to her door when she is home alone, and they knock on the door, and she answers, and they're like, Nancy, we have terrible news. Your husband's dead. This sounds a lot like your story.
Oh my God.
Right? From last week. So I'm saying that like I don't remember.
But when you said that instantly, I was like, what was my story?
Right. I just edited it the other night. So or last night.
Yeah.
So I know it sounds a lot like your story. So Nancy goes willingly with them to the sheriff's office. And there they parade Dwight through, just like in your story. Uh-huh. And they are like arresting him in front of her. And he says, now remember, he's like young. His name is Young. He says that he and she made eye contact, and she just had this like, uh-oh look on her face.
Oh.
But when they ask her if she knows him, she's like, I don't have any idea who that is. So the detective who's interviewing her says, well, we're trying to talk to him. This is what he had in his pockets, and pulls out the 2 employee identification photos that Nancy gave of Jody that Nancy gave him. And she's like, well, so yeah, I had those for a while. I used to carry them around in my purse, but since we've been kind of broken up and not sleeping in the same room and thinking about divorce, I think I took them out and put them on my dresser, and I don't know, maybe Jody took them back, or I don't know where they went after that. I didn't have them anymore. And then they're like, oh, wait, there's one more thing that he had, and they pull out the wedding ring. And she's like, well, I've never seen that. I don't know what that is. And they're like, he says it's your wedding ring.
Yeah.
She's like, no, I mean, I don't have my wedding ring, but that's not it. And just keep saying, it's not mine, it's not mine, it's not mine.
Oh my God.
So they let her go. And then the next day they show back up at the house and they arrest her.
So wait, where the husband wasn't home?
Yeah.
Because he has to be in hiding for them to do this.
Right.
Okay.
So he could have even just been at work. It sounded like he wasn't home very often.
Yeah.
Which is how she sort of said, oh, he's having an affair with all these people.
Yeah.
So he could have been at work.
I'm just
or maybe he
imagining her going like released and then going home and then the husband walks in and
Right.
they're like, you're not dead?
How did you get not dead?
Yeah.
So the next day they show up and they arrest her for solicitation of capital murder.
Ooh.
And they're like, listen, we are going to ask you for the truth. And that's all we want to hear. But then before she even gets a chance to say anything, there's a knock and the door opens and Jody walks in.
Oh my God.
And she covers her face, and Nancy covers her face, and she says, oh my God, I should have known. And then instead of being like, well, you caught me, here's what happened.
Nope, she died with the lie.
She says,
Oh God.
you told me my husband died, and who was that guy that you were arresting that you wanted to know what, whether or not I knew him? Like, who was the hitman and who set this up? I bet that Jody and that guy set it up. He's probably somebody he knows through his girls, blah, blah, blah. Just all on the defensive, like yelling at the cops. And they're like, look, lady, we know everything. We're going to arrest you.
Yeah.
She's like, well, then you're in on it. Like, just on and on and on. Like, at this
crazy.
point, there's no way. So then Dwight walks in and says, you know what? I'm actually sheriff's investigator Terry Young and not actually a hitman, and I wasn't actually arrested. And so she realizes that that's end of the story. So they take her to trial and they convict her. And the prosecution recommends 30 years for her sentence. Yeah. And the jury decides like max 30 years, I think. So it's like 17 years, then possibility of parole, and then up to 30 years in jail or in prison. And the judge warns her, look, if you write a book about this crime, then your husband could totally sue you and take like most of your profits. So just don't even do it. Oh my God. While you're in prison, you can't receive any of that anyway, whatever. So I loved the way that this ended. It said, and I forget which article this was, or I would credit it, but it ended with, now Nancy Gelber, a crime writer who once described herself on Facebook as one of the nicest people I've ever met, will not be eligible for parole until 2027.
I want to describe myself that way.
Right? I am one of the nicest people I have ever met.
Like, it's like I am one of my favorite people.
I'm like the best person in my whole world.
That's like me when I'm like, I'm so funny.
Only way, way worse.
Yes.
So this kind of led into because I was looking up, her book and all this. So I did find a book on Audible that now I just have to read. And it's a shame because once again, I am out of Audible credits.
Aw.
So, I wonder if you can give Audible credits to people. Like, could our fans go sign up at audibletrial.com/crime crazy podcast? And wait, is it podcast?
Just Crime Crazy.
audibletrial.com/crime crazy is the actual website. Don't try that other one.
Yeah. To links disabled.
Like, get there. That's right. Get their free book and then give it to me.
I don't know. Okay, someone please try that out for Aaron.
Give that a shot. Like 50 of you.
Like freely sign up, do your thing, cancel it, but after you send your credit to Aaron.
To me. Or continue it and send me your credits every month. That would be okay too.
Well, I mean, if you want to do that.
So anyway, the book is called Fatal Vows. And I don't know much about it except that the subtitle is The Tragic Wives of Sergeant Drew Patterson. And it's a true crime story. So this is something that really happened.
Yeah.
Yep. It's by Joseph Hosey.
Tragic Wives.
The Tragic Wives, Fatal Vows. He must be like not a black widower. Is that a thing?
Oh my God, that's what my story's called.
What?
The Black Widow. That's what I named it.
Oh my gosh. All right, well, I'm ready.
So it's
wait, we have to say the Audible thing again. audibletrial.com/crime crazy. 30-day free trial, free audiobook. Send it my way if you don't want it.
Yeah.
Okay, now you can go.
Okay, so it was kind of funny because as you're reading your story, I was like, oh my God, that's kind of like my story this week. That's kind of like my story this week. And it was freaking me out.
Your story last week.
I know, but this is more like wives trying to kill their husband type thing.
Right.
So, quick little backstory on what I named. She's like, well, I didn't name her. Someone else named her, but it fit. So, the Black Widow. So, her name is Julia Lynn Womack, but she goes by Lynn. So, I'll refer to her as Lynn the rest of the way out.
Okay.
She was adopted as a little baby, and she was spoiled rotten. Her parents ended up splitting up, though. So she stayed with her mom, and her mom got remarried. Her stepdad was not very nice. There was a lot of tension in the house.
How old was she? Sorry. When that happened, do you know?
She was a teen.
Okay.
So
a bad time for it to happen. Okay.
Oh, yeah. So she ended up getting admitted into the Atlanta drug clinic for treatment. It was that bad. So that was her little childhood life. So Lynn recovered and pursued a job in law enforcement. She worked as like a 911 operator, and she started to hang out with like a bunch of cops. So she was around this big group of guys that were, I mean, they're all police officers all the time.
Right. This does sound like my story. Except she's not a novelist.
Oh, that's true. So she is this, they described her as like this like pretty brunette, like they, you know, so I don't think they minded hanging out with her. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, just the way it sounded. So, they would go clubbing, hot tubbing.
Ooh.
Yeah. And they would go
I'm
shoot
sure they were
pool.
all in suits.
Oh, yeah. So, well, at least I hope they were dressed with shooting pool. But yeah.
Well, okay, I meant in the hot tub.
Or clubbing.
Or clubbing. At least mostly dressed. I don't think you have to be terribly dressed to go clubbing. But I'm way too
If
old
you're
to
a
go
guy,
clubbing.
you have to be dressed because they have dress codes for guys.
Well, okay.
Yep. But girls can be practically wearing nothing and they'll let you in.
Right.
Yes.
In fact, they prefer it.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm way too old for all of that. It's too loud and too crowded.
I haven't been in so long, I don't even know. But gay clubs are my thing because then I feel more safe.
Well, that's true.
So. Okay, so back to how Lynn's life was a little shitty. So she was hanging out with all these guys, whatever. So that's how she met her soon-to-be husband, Glenn. And this was in 1991. She began like pursuing him relentlessly. She bought him expensive gifts and tickets to sporting events and pretty much anything he liked to get his attention.
Wow.
His friends thought it was really strange because she was so attractive and she had these aspirations for the high life, pretty much. And this guy, Glenn, his nickname was Buddha. So you can only imagine.
Okay.
So just to kind of give you the hint, he was a very large framed, is how they explained it.
Nice.
He was so kind. He was so like all these guys had like hearts of gold. So
Nice.
they really thought high of him. So this group jokingly called themselves the Rat Pack because they were like the closest, I guess. But they all agreed to pretty much keep an eye on Lynn because she kind of flirted with everyone and she always wanted to be the center of attention. So
they were keeping an eye on her, not for her own safety, but for him.
For all of them, because she would flirt with all of them and but was trying to date him and be with him. So it was kind of like,
so just nobody trusted her.
Yeah. So they kind of just kept an eye, like maybe not kept distance, but it's kind of like keep your enemies close-ish, maybe.
Right. Okay.
So, Lynn...
That's really depressing.
Right? So, Lynn was known for her, like, very brittle temper. So, she would go from being super sweet to hateful within seconds.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So, that was definitely one of her traits that came out after her whole party lifestyle. In 1992, Lynn applied to be a cop and she passed the physical with flying colors. She was very fit. And then she failed the psychological part. So
I saw that coming a mile away.
So this humiliated her so deeply.
Oh, no.
She started calling out of work. And then she was just a 911 operator. She started calling out of that. She would say she was sick a lot, just not to go because she was that humiliated.
I mean, I feel sorry for her, but it sounds like we would have known that back maybe as a teenager, certainly when she got involved with drugs, definitely when she flirted with all the cops.
Oh, yeah. So she started calling out sick. She started like going downhill a little bit with her job that she had. So around this time, Glenn and her were still together and they were going strong, that he shared with the Rat Pack that he wanted to pop the question.
Aww.
And this was around like Christmas time.
He's so supportive.
He is. He's very supportive of her, and he's always very nice. So 2 months later, they moved in together. Then they set the date to be married August sometime 1993. So they're like, trucking along, making their plans. But before long, I think it's a few months before they even actually got married, she urged him to switch her to the beneficiary on his life insurance policies.
Oh, yeah, that's not suspicious at all. Also, I'm having major deja vu right now. I just want you to know, like, I feel like we've already had this conversation. It's kind of creepy.
It's funny. So ours are like kind of similar, but
well,
like,
right, but I mean, no, I'm
like
just
in general,
actually having deja vu. Like, not just that they're similar stories. I'm not trying to be catty.
No, but still, though, I mean, either way, deja vu, anyways, is really cool. Right. But that's why when you're reading your story, I was like, oh,
this might be the one I did.
Oh, that'd be funny. But they're so similar. It's like crazy. But
I hope that one day we do that.
That we end up with the same story
before.
Yep.
But I hope that one day we're like, wait, is your guy's name what? Oh my God, so is mine.
I'll be like, let's both talk
at the same time. Ready, set, go.
So, okay, let's see. Oh yeah. So she was like, why don't you put my name as your beneficiary? And he probably did, which it didn't say that he was like fighting it or anything, so he probably went and did it right when she asked him to do it.
Right.
But everyone thought she was strange. All of his friends, all of his family, like his mom and his sister, definitely his mom, commented on it a lot. And yet they still got married. But even the friends said that the wedding was just so weird. The best man's like one of the omens that they said, it was probably probably an omen because they couldn't light their unity candle.
Oh my God.
And I was like, that would be so embarrassing.
Right.
But kind of funny.
I can see how it could happen like physically, but at the same time, although really omens in hindsight, those totally don't count.
Well, that's true. But everyone didn't like her. So they were kind of like, nope, it's a sign. You shouldn't get married type thing. So even the best man's speech was something like, well, I feel like I'm at a funeral, not a wedding.
Oh my God.
Like, I don't think this is going to work out, but best of luck. Cheers.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So
that's not okay, even if you feel like that's the truth.
It's kind of funny, though, because I'd be like, oh.
Right.
I'd be at the bar, oh, no.
Well, that's like, did you ever watch Sherlock, the BBC Sherlock?
No.
I've watched it too many times.
I know.
But there's an episode where Sherlock is the best man and he's giving John's speech.
Aww.
And it starts out like that.
Oh, no.
And then he like manages to turn around and it actually ends up being very sweet. But everybody is staring at him like, oh, shit.
Oh, no. His whole thing was like exactly what I just said. Like that was all he said. And then he was like, all right, bye.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Do you think people were like laughing awkwardly when he was done talking? Or was it just dead
I think everyone was just like, oh, he's probably just drunk.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So,
I'd be so pissed.
They didn't even make it through their honeymoon without her causing a major fight. She was mad because he booked the cruise on the wrong cruise ship and it was a family cruise ship and not a luxury cruise ship and blah, blah, blah. So
I've been on one cruise. I guarantee it was plenty nice.
Well, and she was just wanted all the best things in life and she just wanted to be a brat. So she was going to fight over everything.
Right.
So they fought through their honeymoon. Shortly after, their whole sex life stopped. She said she was having womanly problems. So they couldn't do that. Soon they were sleeping in different bedrooms.
Right.
Like, girl,
because
shut up.
Snored and...
yeah. So she was so nasty to him and he still would try to be nice to where his partner, like, because he was a police officer, his partner said that he would call her in the middle of the day and be like, hey, I'm just out and about, do you want me to get you anything for lunch? I'll drop it off to you at home.
Right.
And she'd be like, I don't want anything from you, like, just nasty. And then he said, this is his partner, would be like, he would hang up the phone and be like, I don't even know why I try, like, you know, so like defeated like is sad.
I feel like he's a teddy bear and we need to take care of him. I feel so bad.
And then she like switched. Well, I don't even know how to say this. I was like switch the flip, but that doesn't make sense.
No, that doesn't make sense.
What did okay, let's
flip the switch.
Flip the switch. Oh, I'm getting that. And switch the script.
Oh, okay.
But that wasn't right. But yeah, flip the switch.
She switched the flip a switch.
Yep, guys, you know what I'm talking about.
It's not even that late.
Nope.
It's only 8 o'clock.
I know. It's 8:20. So
okay, sorry.
So then they got into another major fight. She threatened to shoot him with his like police gun.
Okay.
I was like, that would never hold up. Like,
no.
So he told a friend after this big fight and everything, he's like, if anything happens to me, he said,
she did it.
He says, look at Lynn. Because, like, he was sure that something was going to happen.
All right, I want to make a deal with you.
What?
If either of us ever says anything like that, if anything ever happens to me, look at so-and-so, that we will immediately force that person to break off all contact with whoever so-and-so is.
Yes, I know, right? I was like, why would you say that and then stay with the person?
Right?
Isn't that scary?
Even jokingly, if you ever say, if anything ever happens to me, it's blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Get away from blah, blah, blah.
Right? Nope, he stayed. So they were only married for 19 months.
Oh, man.
Right? And he was found dead with an enlarged heart.
Gosh.
And an irregular heartbeat is what the cause of death was.
So like a heart attack?
So
how can you be dead with an irregular heartbeat?
well, they said that they had proof that he was having irregular heartbeats, I guess.
And then
But
he had an enlarged
so that'll
heart.
make sense.
Okay.
So days before his death, he actually went to the ER because he had extreme flu-like symptoms.
Okay.
And Lynn stated that he came back home and was like completely crazy. She said that he was trying to jump off the balcony because he thought he could fly, and that he ran down into like the basement and tried to drink gasoline.
That's terrifying. I am guessing it's also a lie, but that's
terrifying.
So
there was never any proof of that, but that was her crazy story. So she put him back to bed, and the next morning when he was feeling better, she made him Jell-O and like gave that to him. And then she went to run some errands. And by the time she came back, he was dead, wrapped up in his blankets in the guest room. Because that's where he was sleeping.
I'm going to call bullshit on all that.
So when the detective came and was investigating, you know, because obviously someone's dead, so you have to investigate it.
Right.
She told him about how he was acting crazy and about the balcony and the gasoline. Well, the gasoline happened to be right next to this huge jug of antifreeze. So, just let your mind wander.
Right.
Even his mother...
That would go really well in Jell-O. Like, really well in Jell-O.
Yep. And it was green Jell-O.
Yeah, and it's my understanding that antifreeze is, like, really sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, dogs will drink it and stuff. So, yeah, I'm thinking that would probably... Although, you know, if I ever tried that, the Jell-O would never set. Because I wouldn't know. Does that substitute for water or water and sugar? Or, like, do you add extra gelatin to that? It would never work for me.
No.
But...
I have a hard time making Jell-O shots because of that. So
right.
I'm like, here's some vodka Jell-O soup. Just drink it.
Just drink it. It'll be really sweet and yummy, I promise. I froze it a little bit. Just crunch it.
So his mother was like, no, I don't believe this. Like, he didn't just die. Like, he was healthy as a horse. Like, no, that's what happened.
Well, was he healthy as a horse if his nickname was Buddha?
Well, I think it was just because he was a big guy.
Okay, so okay.
I don't think he was like overweight in the sense of that. Like, I think he was
in my mind of like the little Buddha dolls with like.
Oh no, I think he was just like a really big guy.
But he was also super kind.
Yeah. So I mean, you can't be that out of shape if you're a police officer.
I am not sure that that's always true.
But I watch Live PD. And I see these cops have to run after people. And this one ran. I don't know how he ran this far. And he chased this guy like pretty much around the whole fucking neighborhood. And then it was a kid, and he was like, man, he said, how old are you? And the cop said 39. He said, man, you do your cardio. It was like, I can't believe you got me. Because he was trying to outrun he was trying to outrun him. But
I've seen some local cops. That
that's true.
I can outrun you.
But this is Atlanta. That's like a city. Like, I feel like you gotta. I mean, it's like the suburbs outside. Like, I feel like that's where all the crime happens. So you got to be on your A game. Yeah. But anyway, so the mom said, well, I don't think that's how he died. His heart was fine, never had a history of heart problems.
Right.
But to do like the tox report on what was found in his stomach, which they did find the jello and everything, was too much money, and she didn't have the money to pay for it. It was like a couple $1,000s to send it off.
They didn't declare it as a suspicious death, so she would have had to like hire it out herself.
Yep.
Oh.
So she couldn't. Because she didn't have the money. So, anyway, at the funeral.
How heartbreaking!
I know,
would that
right?
be?
But it comes around. I promise.
Okay.
So at the funeral, Lynn said,
"I guess it must, or you wouldn't know anything about."
True. So at the funeral, Lynn says, like, a lot of people overhear her say, I just gotta get the hell out of here. And she left with another cop that no one knew, hand in hand, walking away. So come to find out, it wasn't a cop, it was a firefighter. He was like a first responder. Okay. And his name was Randy, and they had been having an affair for several months. Yes.
Well, no wonder she was having woman issues.
Yeah, right.
She was tired.
Yeah. So, in 1995, using this Glenn's beneficiary, because she was the beneficiary, so using that money, which I think it was around $150,000. So, which that's a decent chunk of change for.
It's the amount of money that I could probably spend in a week or make last for a couple of years.
Yes.
I would be more likely to spend it in a week.
She almost spent it all in a week because in 1995 she bought the two of them a home with this money.
Oh, well, there you go, yeah.
So in 1996 they started a family. I don't know if it was accidental or on purpose or.
Oh, so she wasn't having woman issues anymore.
Yeah, but they weren't married yet. They just decided to start having kids, I guess. So they had 2 kids, and she still refused to marry him. The next year, in 97, Lynn convinced, his name was Randy, to make her the beneficiary.
Oh, no.
And then convinced him to raise it from $100,000 to $200,000.
But I have your child, and if anything ever happens to you because you have this dangerous job.
And he's like, well, why won't you marry me? So,
right. Well, I don't actually love you. I just want your money.
I just want your money. So soon after, as you can imagine, the relationship started to sour, and Lynn claimed,
all of a sudden I have woman issues.
Right. Well, she did him a lot worse, I must say. She claimed that he hit her, and he had to pay a fine and do 10 months of probation and stuff like that. And she started drinking heavily, and he started drinking heavily and like emotionally just buckled after she did that to him, because everyone described him as like the best guy, would always love you, and when he loves someone, he loves you wholeheartedly.
She's good at picking people like that.
Right? So he just kind of had an emotional break. So she knew that and would push his buttons all the time. And to the point where he even tried to overdose on pills and said, and if it doesn't kill me, at least I'll get her attention. So he was in a very bad spot. So then a few years later, in 1999, he moved out for his sanity. So he left her and the kids in the house, and he went and got his own place.
Good. Kids. Multiple.
Yeah, they had 2 kids.
You may have said that and I just didn't listen. I'm sorry. I really am listening. Like I'm tired now.
So they in 2001, so 2 years later, they meet to work things out for the sake of the kids.
Sure.
3 days later, Randy dies alone.
Oh, gee.
And just like Glenn, they found the jello in his stomach. He was at the ER a few days before. Same flu-like symptoms. Couldn't stop throwing up, diarrhea, everything. and then had the
Which
green.
is a symptom of poisoning.
Yeah. But I don't think, people expect to be poisoned.
Well, no, but I'm saying, isn't that, like, so she was already feeding him the antifreeze. Because isn't that what antifreeze does to you if it doesn't kill you? Like, it makes you
so
have gastrointestinal distress.
I think that with him, I don't think he realized he was being poisoned through the Jell-O. And when he was sick, Jell-O was like the one thing he thought he could keep it down. Right. So he was continuously eating it.
Right.
So, yeah. So the day of the burial, Lynn calls the insurance company, checking on the insurance policy that she wanted to collect on.
Holy shit. Dude, okay. Kill people in different ways if they're going to accidentally die slightly suspiciously.
Right.
And, give it a while. Pretend to grieve.
Nope. She was on the phone that day. And when she called, the policy for $200,000 had been canceled. So it was only paid so much, and then he stopped paying because he moved out, got his own place, and so I was just like, well, good for her. Like, she doesn't get anything now.
Sure, but at the same time, that means that he didn't have to die.
Yeah.
Like, if she could have found that out.
Yeah. So after his death, the whole Rat Pack, they were like, no. Like, something happened because this was like the next town over or something. So it got out. They heard about it. They called both counties, the newspapers, and anyone they could call.
Yeah.
They just wanted to raise hell because they were like, we knew she did something. Now this is the second time. This isn't right. They're police officers, so obviously it looked good coming from them, saying she's fishy.
Right.
Meanwhile, Kathy, who was Glenn's mom, called Randy's mom. So, meanwhile, Kathy called Glenn's mom, wait, hold on. Kathy was Glenn's mom.
First husband.
Yes. Called Randy's mom and said...
second lover.
Yes.
Okay.
And said, well, I had suspicions about her. What did you think about her? Mm-hmm. Then the whole, Jell-O thing came up. And, so it was enough for everyone to, pay attention. So this is what sparked the story. Everything came out to light. So then they switched it to a homicide investigation.
Good.
So with the new evaluations from the autopsy showing the chemicals that are found in antifreeze were found in the stomach of Randy, they actually exhumed Glenn's grave and did a whole nother report on him, found the same exact things in his liver, I think, and kidney.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Somewhere there was a crystal that was a buildup of this chemical.
Right.
So they found it in him too. So
I think kidneys.
What?
I think kidneys.
Kidneys? I forget which one it was. I didn't write it down. But I think kidneys. Kidneys sounds better when I say it. So
I like the word kidneys better.
Yeah. So obviously both men died from the same cause. So in 2002, they arrested her for Glenn's murder. And then 2 years later, they did a trial with the jury found her guilty for his murder. Then a few years later, 2007, she went to another trial separately for Randy's, and they gave her life in prison without the chance of parole.
Good.
So she did get charged with both murders. So both families have, that closure and comfort of knowing oh, good, she's behind bars. But then in 2010, in August, she was found unresponsive in her cell. They tried to resuscitate her. 40 minutes later, they pronounced her dead. Come to find out, it was an overdose on her blood pressure medication, and that she had a conversation with her mother saying that the women in here are going to get me. So,
but it sounds like that was if it was her medicine, then she'd have to be
oh yeah, I think they were leaning towards suicide because they knew that she couldn't handle the prison life because she wanted to be catered to, and so she barely made it a few years really in the state prison, not just the county jail. Right. So yeah.
Which actually, I mean, I don't know about murderers or about any other states, so maybe this isn't good information, but I feel like depending on what crime you're committed of and where you go, that sometimes jail is worse in a lot of ways. Like you don't get anything and nothing happens and you spend a lot of time in your cage. And whereas prison, at least there are generally programs or jobs or something that you can do.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that was what happened to our crazy Black Widow lady.
So it is kidneys.
It is kidneys.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it takes several days for them to form. So they both would have had to be poisoned for several days.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think it's like 48 to 72 hours.
I think that the first husband I forgot to mention was not only poisoned through Jell-O, it was through like tea and other things when she was trying to take care of him.
Right.
But yeah, so that is what happened. So at the end of my story, everybody dies.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right?
But not in the really unsatisfactory way like my story last week where everybody died but nobody got charged.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
Then we're not paying to support her in prison.
Yep.
She obviously wasn't feeling any kinds of remorse if she did it twice.
Yeah. Well, and her reasons were so stupid, but
for
whatever.
Very little money. Do you think, so I was thinking about this while you were telling the story, that she chose a police officer and a firefighter because they're in super dangerous lines of work and they would have a life insurance policy and they would have like a pension and they might die naturally and then she just got tired of waiting?
I don't know. I wish I knew more about her, but that makes sense with the whole pension thing because that's why everyone was thinking that's why she didn't marry Randy because she was still collecting Glenn's pension.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But, I mean, which makes sense, and, I mean, it all makes sense, and they've worked their bones off for her.
Right.
But then she wouldn't give them any of the money that they worked for.
Right.
She would spend, well over her means, and, give, Glenn his allowance was $20 a week, and that was it. Out of all of what he worked. He even had a second job after being a police officer.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
she knew exactly who to pick. Like, she's scary sociopath. Scary.
Well, yeah, that's what they labeled her. They were like, I forget, whoever the guy is who deems if she's crazy or not, when in trial, right. Pretty much said, she knew what she was doing, but she's not well enough to realize that she shouldn't have done it. Not saying she's insane, but that she thought she was so smart and that she would just get away with it.
That she was above the law.
Yeah. Because even though she wanted to stick it to the law because she couldn't be a police officer.
Right.
So that was her payback.
Yeah, so then she probably was a sociopath, and that was probably what that psychological picked up, and it was nope, we can't have you running around with a gun.
No thanks.
Although, I have to say, the news lately does not inspire me to believe that the psychological exams they're giving police officers are sufficient. But anyway, well,
you have one more story for us.
I do have one more story for us. All right, let's see. Where is my story? Oh, this one's great.
Oh, okay.
I'm excited. I just remembered what it was when I pulled it up and I saw the first sentence and I was like, oh yes, this will be great. So this is about a jewel thief. I thought we would go in a totally different direction. No more murder for hire. Okay, this jewel thief's name is Doris Payne. And if Doris sounds a little antiquated to you, that's because she's 86.
Aww.
All right,
she's little.
No, she's old.
I know, but little in the sense of she's probably a little old lady.
I saw a picture of her. I'm not sure if she's a particularly little old lady. I mean, she is definitely an old lady.
Yeah.
And she was very pretty back when she was young. They had a side-by-side. Her first mugshot and her most recent
then and now. Damn.
All right. So she was recently, and I didn't write down the date. Daggone it. All right, sometime since 2013, definitely. And it was on July 17th, but I don't know what year.
Oh, my God.
Doris Payne was arrested. She's 86. She was leaving Walmart, and they stopped her outside the store, and they were like, hey, did you pay for everything that you have on you? And she had $86 worth of items on her that she hadn't paid for.
Coincidence of her age?
Well, so she said, I never lied and said that I didn't have it. I'm saying there was no intent. Like, I didn't remember. I just walked out with this stuff. And I think they sort of implied that it was jewelry because, like, all of her previous offenses are all jewelry. So the judge did agree and they released her. And thankfully, they also ruled that thankfully for her, there wasn't enough evidence to hold her for violation of probation because she was on probation.
Oh my God.
Because the previous March, she tried to steal two $2,000 diamond necklaces from a department store. Actually, she was found guilty in March. It was in December when she tried to steal the necklaces from a department store. So then she was also like 85, 86 at that point. So she had been put in jail, actually for violating another probation. And they had let her out, probably just sort of like a compassionate release thing. And she had an electronic monitoring bracelet. And so then when she shoplifted from Walmart, that she was still wearing that then. So that didn't help. But the first time that Doris was ever arrested was 1952.
Oh.
That's when she started her crime spree.
Yeah.
Yep. Her largest known theft was in 1970.
Oh my God.
When she was caught stealing a diamond ring worth $500,000.
Dang, girl.
So in 2013, there was a documentary film that was called The Life and Crimes of Doris Payne, which I have got to find a copy of because this woman is kind of amazing, but also like the worst jewel thief in the world. Yeah. Like, it sounds like she gets arrested
like a really
every
bad
couple
cat
years.
burglar, you know what I mean? Like,
right. So she so there was this documentary, and then apparently even after the documentary, like, she hasn't given up her ways, and she's just moved on to less and less expensive stores. So, however, I loved this quote from her. This was her defending herself against the Walmart shoplifting charge, saying, there was no intent. Like, if I didn't try to steal it. Her reasoning is, there has never been a day that I went to steal and I did not get what I went to do.
Dang. That's funny.
So, full of sass.
Yes.
And also the world's worst burglar.
That's so great, though. That's kind of like, believe me, if I wanted to take it, you wouldn't have known.
Right. Except that's obviously not true.
Aw.
All right, so hold on. I think I have a picture I'll show you, and then we can post it later. But
Aw.
She's like kind of sunken.
Yep. That's
little
so
and old,
funny.
with like bright white hair.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah,
That's so great.
That is our 86-year-old jewel thief.
That's funny. I like that.
So anyway,
I keep yawning.
yes, you do. Cut it out. No more yawning.
Sorry.
How many times in an episode can we say yawning?
Yawning.
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 Now it's lost all meaning.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. So I don't have any shout outs that I particularly want to give this week, but I did want to say a couple of cool things.
Okay.
So we have gifts going out to a couple of our patrons on Patreon.
Oh, yeah.
There are physical gifts being put in the mail. There are stickers coming to some of our fans who requested them.
Oh, yeah.
I am going to post a picture very soon of my podcast sticker collection, which is growing, and I'm really excited. By the way, if you want to send stickers to Crime Crazy Podcast, you totally can do that too. Also, we are, and I don't know when this is going to air, but we are going to be interviewed this week on another podcast, one of the Tin Pod Radio podcasts. Mm-hmm. So I'm super excited about that.
That's going to be fun. I'm nervous, but I'm excited.
I think it's good. Well, see, and I'm way less nervous because I know the host. So, because he's the guy that I do Shortlisted with. Yeah. Which, by the way, this past episode of Shortlisted, which will come out on the same day as this episode of Crime Crazy.
Oh, okay.
So, also coming out today. It's not exactly true crime, but Brian did say in the beginning of the episode, that's what I get for doing a podcast with a true crime girl. So if you want to hear about some different kinds of things, including several crimes, it's kind of a gory one. It's about people who survived your worst nightmare.
Ooh.
And so we go over like 10 people who survived these just insurmountable odds. So that's shortlisted. And then whenever we find out about Tin Pod, we'll have to like blast that all over our social media.
Oh, yeah,
too,
we will.
because I think that'll be very cool.
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to mention, because it is almost October.
I love that it's almost October.
I'm kind of excited too. I'm finally getting in the mood for like pumpkins and.
Well, we have to start crafting Halloween stuff.
I was gonna say in our epic Halloween party. But also in October,
yes,
we are going to be featured on Podbean.
That's so cool.
Who we host with.
So everybody has to listen.
Absolutely.
That's gonna be fun.
So look for us there, and we will post more information about that. And then when we finally are featured, we're going to be in like their banner ads. So every time you open up the app or the website, like you'll see us. And I am certain that we will post all over the place when it happens, because we will just lose our shit and go crazy.
Yes.
So
that's accurate enough.
Right. So in the meantime, soon
we are going to go to the psychic.
Oh, I know, because
we'll talk about that.
Like over 1,000 hits past
our
where
milestone.
We were going to go.
I know. So we're going to plan that, and then we're going to talk about it. And Erin's not going to be a skeptic anymore.
I'm going to be such a well-behaved girl at the psychic, too.
Yes.
And try not to get all freaked out.
Yes.
So, we'll
because I was freaking out thinking of stuff that, like, what if he says this to you? And I was like, I was freaking myself out. You weren't even there. I was freaking myself out for you.
You were thinking about things he might say to me?
Yes.
Oh.
I'll tell you after.
Oh, now I'm all nervous.
Ew. I know.
Okay. I'm excited. So yes, in the meantime, you should definitely get in touch with us, and all of our social media is all like Crime Crazy Pod, Crime Crazy Podcast at everything.
Yeah, we're everywhere.
And if you have really enjoyed this episode and you want to show some support for us, we also would love to send you great stuff. If you sign up on Patreon, we have a Patreon page, Crime Crazy Podcast.
You should just go look at all the prizes you could be winning.
It's true. Just go look at it.
It's fun.
But then make a donation because you're awesome.
Yes.
Or you could also support us by doing the Audible trial.
Yeah.
And
that's free.
Yeah, the trial is absolutely free. And then even if you decide to stick with it, like, you're still getting stuff out of it.
Yeah.
So.
True.
Anyway, anything else you want to remind people?
Just don't end up on next week's episode.
Absolutely. I had a teacher offer the other day. Well, not offer, but I said, I don't know what I'm going to podcast about this week. And she said, do you need me to go kill somebody? I was like, no. If you've listened to our podcast, Jordan says no every time.
I say yes right now.
No. I said not only that, but it'd be like 3 years before your trial was over.
I know. I wouldn't have any information.
Right. She goes, no. I would just tell you what I did. I was like, ooh.
Accomplice.
Like every week you could write us a letter. We could read it on the No, we are not doing this. This is a bad idea.
No, do not end up on next week's episode. No. That is final.
But do have a great week.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Crime Crazy. We hope that you enjoyed listening as much as we enjoyed making it. If you like our show, please tell a friend, or better yet, subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes or your favorite podcasting app. We really appreciate your feedback and want to give you a shout out on the next episode if you leave us a review. If you leave us a review somewhere other than iTunes, just let us know. If you loved our show, consider donating to our Patreon. We have lots of great surprises that we want to share with anyone who supports us. And let's be real, it's really just an excuse to send you cool stuff. Thanks again, and remember, even though we really have no idea what we're talking about, we'll be back next week to talk about it all over again.